Sounds good.
So I prepared a very small agenda. Maybe we start with some topics from the TOC. There is again this ticket with the maintenance of bubble, whether it should be moved or not. TOC talks everybody about it, and there's no update. I guess it's here the same, right? It's not urgent. I mean, just thought.
I have a chat with Ruben scheduled for next week, just to talk about it. So I guess I'll hear more about what the TOC is thinking from that, and we'll figure out. I don't know if you want to. You're on vacation, Carsten. That's fine. But yeah, we'll see what comes of that, and I'll report back at the next meeting.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still very hesitant to commit to this working group taking it on. I feel it would be a large undertaking, but we'll see. See what the options are.
Okay, then next meeting I won't be here, but Jochen is back, so all fine. Good. Other updates from the TOC. What is now available are these reviewers groups, and you can also have bots per working group area. I mean, we don't have so many working group areas yet, so it's maybe not that important, but these features are now available. And there is the, how should I call it, double spicy PR now open to really remove, to not just talk about removing non-standard teams, but to remove the non-standard teams. I saw, Dave, that you already commented and that should be fine.
Yeah, I looked through what was being removed, and I think we have all of the required repos set up in our working group. So I think we should be good to go there. I mean, anything that we've missed will be relatively minor, and we can.
Yeah, it can be added, no problem. That can be then also done on the fast track. I guess other teams will have similar issues.
Yeah, I'm sure. So that's fine.
And then there was a general question regarding bots. We do have now a means to assign existing bot users to the GitHub teams, and then they have the necessary rights on the repos, but there is a little bit information lacking about how should bots be handled, who should decide whether a bot is used or not, where should the credentials be stored of this bot, and who has access to that. There's many open questions, and there's one issue, 386 on the community repo, where Eric actually raised a number of questions and asks the different working groups for feedback, for requirements, so that we can come here to a, let's say, recommended management of bots. So I don't know, a private repo or GitHub of a concourse or whatever, something needs to come up so that the credentials are not hidden and that,
okay,
better managed.
Okay, I'll take a look at that and comment. Appropriate. Sounds good.
Okay, yeah, that was it from the TOC. Pipeline migration. What I did is I created this shortened subdomain so that, let's say, the work is now hopefully unblocked. Yeah. I don't know, Sven, have you some updates here? What?
Yeah, I just created the bubble environment today, and right now I'm deploying CF deployment to just see whether it works and the API is reachable under the new domain.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's the common name of the certificates that's causing the problem, because DNS names could be 253, I believe, or 255. But the common names can only be 64. And unfortunately, we use the DNS name as the common name in a lot of the certificates in CF deployment. So we could theoretically fix that and just use like common names as identifiers that are a lot shorter, and then rely on the alternative names for the actual DNS names, which are allowed to be 255. But I don't know that we want to do that, because I think that would be a huge breaking change, because everyone's certificates will get recreated.
So, no.
Yeah, I think we just live with it.
Yeah. should work
Yeah, I
out.
think it's fine because those are anyways just referenced in the pipeline. It's not something users will stumble upon.
Right. It's just unfortunate that it means that there's an artificial limit of 64 characters on people's DNS names for deployments.
No.
So something to keep in the back of our minds, I guess, if this ever does come up, we know why, and we can help people avoid it.
Okay, and then on the topic with a Gemmy stem cell, just for information, because that's what keeps us busy. We have currently a issue with rolling out the cloud controller to Ruby 3, not yet Ruby 3.1, because on Ali Cloud, the fog connector doesn't work on Ruby 3.
Oh.
We thought we had tested that beginning of the year, but looks like we looked at the wrong test result, whatever. It doesn't work. And it's also clear that it doesn't work. There are incompatible changes in Ruby 3, and we are now working on fixing that and hoping that the Alibaba colleagues then finally cut a release. We have some connections via SAP China to them. So
right.
If that is unblocked, we can then continue with consuming new CF deployment versions, because at the moment we are completely stuck and need to focus to get that resolved. And then there was this discussion about using Gemmy as default in the CF deployments. I guess it's a good idea because we have to start somewhere and get more usage on it, and then it's in the real big pipelines and not just in some exotic additional validation pipeline. There would be one wish from my side, if that's possible, is to keep at least one validation on Bionic.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We've never historically we don't. Once we've moved forward on something, whether it be a Bosch release version or a stem cell, we don't generally tend to keep testing with anything older. That's not to say we can't do it. It would be basically the same as the jammy stem cell we have now. I think Carsten and I did use, there's an internal VMware pool of CF deployments that we used for that, just because it was expedient. We didn't have to stand up a Bosch director. So if we wanted to keep this around long term and have it in the working group, we'd probably have to stand up a new Bosch director instead. Because it would be hard to change the main pipeline. I mean, one thing is, I don't know that we were planning on having an ops file that lets you revert back to Bionic. Now that if we did GA with Jammy.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's something we can look at. It's definitely more work. And like I say, historically, we haven't done.
Okay.
We haven't done that. We didn't do that with Xenial, and we didn't do that recently with Bionic. Once we tested it and said yes, this works, we just moved forward. So that, like I said, that's not to say that we can't do it. If the need is high, I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, for Xenial, it was the other way around. Like, it was always tested on Xenial. Everybody was using already Bionic, and then just recently, beginning of the year or something like that.
Yeah, we were definitely behind on Bionic. But I remember Xenial, when I first joined release integration, we didn't, we were always forward looking. We didn't back and say, oh yes, we expect Trusty to keep working.
Okay, just thinking about consequences. I mean, we would consume Gemmy, let's say, as soon as possible. There will be a delay, and the question is, how big is the risk that something breaks on Bionic that we don't notice?
Right.
We hadn't. There were no problems with Xenial and Bionic. Nobody saw issues actually.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how long the Bosch team are planning on producing Bionic stem cells. That's I don't know what their thought process is there to know now that they've got Jammy GA'd. Are they just going to say, okay, well, Jammy's stem cell is the Linux stem cell? I don't have a good historical model of how long previous stem cells have overlapped. So that would
Okay,
be
this is something I can find out talking to the Bosch team.
Mm-hmm.
I could imagine that they will do it until April next year. So as long as there's a regular maintenance window for Bionic. After that, obviously not anymore, but the earliest point in time from our point of view would be when all, let's say, Bosch deployments are migrated. Before that, they can't and they wouldn't. I mean, I think the stem cell production is basically in our hands, SAP's hand. And then they would simply let it run and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can find that out. Okay, if it's really big efforts, then can discuss with Jochen, but then maybe we make here some compromises. I thought more or less it's applying an ops file if we have an ops file, or writing one for switching back to Bionic. I mean, that's something that's not too much effort, and then apply it in one environment and that's it. But if it's more
well, I guess my concern with doing that in the main pipeline would be, we have all these different test scenarios for fresh and upgrade and the different ops files that they're testing. And if we're going to have Jammy as the default stem cell, I'd want all of those test scenarios to be testing Jammy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was more thinking about one of the scenarios. We have this one with the experimental ops files all enabled, something like that. So a more set aside. We don't need all the upgrade tests, etc. I mean, if there is an issue, I would hope that this one is more than on this. It's not even SSL or something really. Who knows if something comes up with Jammy stem cell and CF Linux FS3. I mean, also unlikely, but who knows?
Yeah, they seem to have handled that compatibility quite well. So I think we're okay there. But yes, you never know what changes are going to come through. And I guess the big one would be CF Linux FS4 on Bionic. But maybe they're just not expecting that to work, and that's you have to have the Jammy stem cell to use that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, you could think at least of a migration path where you don't need it. It would be sufficient to have first Jammy and CF Linux FS3 running, and then we need to switch from CF Linux 3 to 4, but on one stem cell, of course, all the same. So that our plan would be as soon as we can manage it, we would bring Jammy out. There is a risk, even if CF deployment runs on Jammy, it doesn't necessarily mean that all our additional stuff and configuration and services run. That has to be then checked by us case by case, and might mean a delay. But in general,
the nice thing there is that you could actually start with the ops file now and just start switching the things that are working 100%. And then when CF deployment switches, you just take the ops file away and you're good to go.
Our problem is that we need to be on the latest CF deployment version, and that's currently stopped because of Ali Cloud. That's but okay, that's our internal problem.
I get it.
Once that is through the door, we will do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then let's keep it open. I also hand it over to Jochen to think about it. But if it's in high effort, then maybe it's more important to go on with the migration and look into the future instead of too much.
Yeah, we can plan for that next time. I definitely would like Sven and Jochen to be involved rather than Carsten and I just doing it this time. So I think that would be good. Whether we've got the pipelines migrated first, I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but I think it should be relatively straightforward. We've got all the pieces in place, so the automation will take care of a lot of it for us.
Yep, that was everything I had. On the agenda. Any other topics?
No, I think we're good. Carsten's going to be out, so I'll be available to help with the pipeline migration as needed. And we'll see how we go.
Do you know whether
Okay.
that Windows fan out, which we set up now, was the only blocking thing, so to say, to migrate this pipeline fully, or are there some more steps we have to take?
I believe that was the big one because it was using our pool instead of a permanent BOSH director. So we should be good now to migrate everything over.
Okay. Does that also mean we're gonna migrate the other environments so they run on this Google Cloud account, or?
That's an open question. I think we're focusing on the pipelines first, and then we can start moving the environments one at a time.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the big issue there is going to be getting the quota set up, and we're going to have to look at the cost as we move environments over, because that's where the big cost is going to come from. And then obviously for experimental, that's the one environment that runs on AWS. So I don't know how we get a working group AWS account.
That's a topic for the TOC,
Okay.
raise it, and if it's needed, yeah, we'll try to find a solution, or then.
So I mean,
ask Chris about it, yeah.
The other option is we stop testing on AWS, but I think it's valuable to have at least one of the IaaS in the testing, which is why we've kept that. So, again, we could decide about that when the time comes.
You don't have any Azure landscapes, right? That's not.
No, we don't have any Azure in CF deployment. We could definitely add one or switch one to use Azure if we want. I mean, there's nothing IaaS specific pretty much in CF deployment as well, just relying on BOSH doing its thing. But there's no reason why we couldn't test on Azure in place of or in addition to AWS at that point, if we felt that was a more viable option.
Oh no, don't. I mean, an Ali Cloud landscape would have helped here in our case to detect it earlier, but I mean, wishing for all IaaS layers, that's unrealistic. And I think
I guess I'm slightly surprised that Cappy weren't testing there, but again, they're relying on underlying things like the fog gem to.
Yeah, that's actually it's not the Cappy VMware team that is testing it. It's actually us who is doing the test, because we do have landscapes and IaaS accounts on Ali Cloud and can run the tests.
Right.
But yeah, this time it went somehow wrong.
These things happen. It's how we recover.
Yeah.
Important.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Then let's call it a day for us, and
sure.
See you quite some time in the future when
we've got a meeting in 2 weeks, right?
In 2 weeks, yeah. That's again led by Jochen.
Yes.
Yes, and then back. I'm on vacation, and then
enjoy.
In September I will show up again.
All right, sounds
cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.